Welcome to the UIAAA Connection podcast. The UIAAA would not be able to broadcast this podcast without the support of our business partners. Thank you to all the gold and silver business partners of the UIAAA, BSN Sports, and our contact Jeremy Macy. Final Forms AMP with contacts Julie Renner and Clay Burnett. Granite Canyon Wealth and our contact Megan Palazzo. Jostens with contact Molly Shaheen. NCSA, Next College Student Athlete, and our contact Paul Putnam. VNN Varsity News Network and our contact in Utah, Jason Jones. Thanks again to all of the gold and silver UIAAA business partners.
Welcome back to another edition of the UIAAA Connection. I'm your host, Mark Hutch Hunter, and we are thrilled to have as our guest today, Mike Hunter, CMAA Athletic Director at Provo High School. How's it going, Mike?
It's going great. I'm happy to be a part of your podcast. Thanks for having me on.
Well, excellent. Just a disclaimer at the first, because I know you get this question all the time, not so much me, but we're not related, even though we have the same last name.
Hey, we're going to get to that later in the segment, I think. So
Okay. All right. Let's begin by telling our listeners, spend a few minutes talking about where you grew up, where you went to college, your background, how you got it, youth sports, all that type of stuff.
Yeah. So I'm originally from Phoenix, Arizona, and I'm the oldest of four in my family. Both my parents are from Utah originally. So in a way, kind of coming back home. And, but my life growing up was a lot like the Sandlot. So I had a lot of experience with baseball growing up. And if you can remember some of the scenes from the Sandlot of the boys getting together and playing in the hot sun, I was the one making those kids stay in 120-degree weather and not go inside and get a drink, get a popsicle, go use the pool. That was my younger siblings hated it, and some of my friends. But those kids that went on and did sports, I kind of said, well, hey, I kind of prepared you for that later on in life, that stuff. So that's I got out to Utah to go to BYU. Is where I went to college. Let me back up a little bit more with my high school. So I participated growing up in soccer, baseball, basketball, track, and cross country. In high school, I really focused on the cross country and track side. I did play a few years of basketball as well at the high school, but the cross country and track is kind of where things kind of took off for me. As an academic All-State. I was a 3-time All-State, recognized a letterman in those sports. I finished as high as 6th in state cross country meet, and I was 5th in the track meet in the 2-mile. So those were kind of my high school.
That's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah. When I went and got to BYU, I had the opportunity to obviously get into the PE department and got a bachelor's and a master's there in sport pedagogy. And anyways, taking those classes and kind of just, again, being around sports most of my life, that's kind of what led me to pursue a career perhaps that would be, related to the academics and the extracurricular activities in the athletic field. I had a coach in high school that really not only helped me develop as an athlete, but he was always asking me about my life, my plans in the future, and what I was going to do. Scott Giddings is his name, and he kept up with me while I was still coaching. I'm not coaching anymore, but would always kind of just check in with me. How's life going? How's the family? So I obviously envision that I'll have some of those conversations with former athletes that I've had, and just continuing, what's going on in life? What do we learn as we're going through all these experiences together, the tough times, the trials, challenges, and successes that we've had in life. It's been a great journey so far.
Okay, well, you mentioned Scott. So do you have other mentors that affected you through your childhood and late adulthood and that helped you out?
Yeah, well, so obviously my parents, I want to give them, the thanks and gratitude they deserve. They supported me in everything that I chose to do. I don't remember hardly a game or an event that either one, if not both, were there in attendance. And again, when we fell short, there was those conversations at home about,
Sure.
continuing, go forward and move. So that was always good. I wanted to throw a shout out to, some of you guys on the board, just in terms of, all that you've kind of done for the association and athletic directors. Mark, as I've gotten to know you over the years and being on the board has really inspired me again to do more in the position, in the field, in terms of just how we can help other people, achieve their goals and do more.
Oh, thank you for your kind words. So how long have you been an athletic director? Over 10 years now, or is it closer to 15?
So this is year 11 for
Okay.
me. Had experience at 3 different schools: Mountain View High School in Orem, Utah, Timpview in Provo School District, and now at the neighboring school, Provo High. This is the second year at Provo High School. So year 11 in total.
So tell me, the job that you had 11 years ago when you were first at Mountain View and the job you have now at Provo High School, how has the job of athletic administrator changed just in the 11 years that you've been involved?
So it started out for me with a lot of paperwork, a lot to fill out for their eligibility, included a physical, all the code of conducts, all the, grades and everything.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. And there is still paperwork to be done. A lot has gone electronic. So there's a lot of tasks that still have to be completed that is the same in terms of us checking off the boxes and make sure it's done. But to answer your question a little bit more specifically about how it has changed, is I see it more about helping individuals more so. Not that we weren't helping individuals before, but I think at the forefront, again, the priority was that paperwork. And now that it's gone a lot online, I see there's that more face-to-face interaction with the student athletes, with the coaches, and being able to help support them in ways that, they haven't been before. And parents have always been involved in programs, but maybe not to the degree that they are now. Again, when I was in high school, my parents were at all the contests and events, but we didn't really have that interaction with the coach, right? In terms of maybe what was going on. You could ask questions and find out,
Sure.
schedules and things like that. But today the parents want to be involved, right, with the programs, and you have to find a way to help manage and facilitate and have clear boundaries as to how everyone can be involved to support and yet not trample on the coaches and ultimately the student athlete experience. So
Exactly.
that's
So
been kind of a change I've seen.
if I'm hearing you correctly, so the helicopter parent, so to speak, has gotten to be more common during the past 11 years
Yeah, for sure.
than it was. What's the one thing you wish you had known when you began your career?
Well, I'm the type of personality that tries to take on everything, myself or do. And I don't know if that's that a lot of athletic administrators feel that way about themselves, but I wish I could have or should have asked more questions to those around me. Don't feel afraid to not know the answers. We're not going to know all the answers, but I think I stayed up many nights. Not that I don't stay up a lot of late nights now, but it was more self-reflection on I didn't get this done or I didn't do this. And as an athletic administration, anything in life, you got to take care of yourself and know that that'll be there for you tomorrow. It's not pressing. Go ahead, go see the game, go watch it, and don't, stay in the office trying. So that's one thing that I even today try to, remind myself of that. We can ask others for help and support and questions. I was just asking another athletic director just the other day on a question in my region, who hasn't been in an AD as long as I have, but you know what? We got to reach out to one another and
excellent response. So this next question actually is a two-part question. I want you to talk to our listeners about your journey, your involvement with the UIAAA, and then of course that led to the second part of the question, your involvement with the NIAAA. So let's go to the UIAAA first. How does that happen to someone who's just a brand new athletic director, and now obviously, not to give anything away, but you've been a president of our group before. So speak to your journey with the UIAAA.
So about probably 6 years or so ago, I was approached by Dave Boyack, who is the current athletic director at Maple Mountain High School, about participating in the UIAAA and running to be the president-elect, be on the board of the UIAAA. And then I had some others kind of reach out. So Dave and I had known each other, being in the same region together, also coaching on the cross country and track side of things as well. So again, I was kind of asked by some individuals to think about it, and felt like maybe I had something to offer to athletic administrators across the state. And of course, I was in that position of wanting to learn more as well from others. So I thought, it'd be a good opportunity for me to run. So I ran as for the president-elect position, and was fortunate enough to be voted in. And during my time on the board, had an opportunity to serve alongside a lot of good individuals and previous experience with the ADEC, and just enjoyed the network, the camaraderie, and kind of that feel of family, if you will. As I mentioned before, just trying to have questions. Now I knew individuals I could feel comfortable just going straight to and asking, because of all these experiences being on committees and different things. So I thoroughly enjoyed my time on the board with the UIAAA. Like I said, I was fortunate to also receive a scholarship to go to a national conference in Orlando by being a first-time attendee. And that's actually something that I wish I would have done sooner. When I first was hired as an athletic director, I was also the track coach at the high school. And that conference down in St. George just happened to obviously fall on the weekend of track.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt that I couldn't, kind of be away from the team and miss that. Well, that very next year, I went to the conference in St. George, and went and did the LTI courses and the various workshops. And I thought, why did I not do that last year? It's something to this day that I thought, wow, I feel like I was 1 year behind in terms of the things that I learned and was exposed to at the conference. And so I have not missed a UIAAA conference since. And then I believe now I've been to 5 NIAAA conferences as well, and just enjoy it thoroughly. My time then, in terms of our involvement with the NIAAA, I applied to be on a committee that they have and that they are in need of in terms of individuals helping out. So I was appointed to the credentials committee a few years back, and that particular committee works with the elections at the national level. And it's been interesting because right as I was coming onto the committee, that's when they were making recommendations to the board in terms of and coming into the strategic plan to have at-large elections and just different things, rather than just a vote on paper of an individual maybe coming on and running for the board. So we're getting candidates out there. At least that's the goal of the committee, to campaign more, to be exposed more, to get more people to vote and have a voice within the association. And it's been great. Now currently serving as a vice chair of that committee, and have gotten to know people now my network has expanded, not just with the Utah athletic directors, but kind of a nationwide base. While I was in the presidency with the UIAAA, got to go to section meetings and get to know individuals that have been involved in this work for a number of years, and just to be able to talk with them and support them and what they're doing. It's just great. I look forward to any of those meetings I get invited to. I find myself now making time for these rather than just saying I have to, I make time for everything else around it, because it's just an overwhelming support in this role. I don't see how not being a part of either the UIAAA or NIAAA in this role without having that basis of support and that network, if you will, and the opportunity to take workshops, classes, etc. Doing this, I just feel like I'm kind of on an island, alone, rather than a part of something moving forward.
Well said. Now, let's expand on that a little bit with your work with the UIAAA. We've got a brand new mentor program that's a year old, or maybe not even quite a year old. And I know you're involved in that. So share some of that thinking with our listeners.
Yeah, so this is something, obviously, I'm glad that the board at the state level has, and obviously it was done through the strategic plan and through our membership, really understanding the importance of what a mentorship program can do. I had the opportunity at the national conference a few years in a row to attend part of the ad hoc committee. It's now a standing, it's now a committee at the national level, but in its infancy and working through, there was representatives from each state, and there was programs to where it was very well put together in terms of being assigned a mentor to a new athletic administrator and what they were going to help them with and support them with, to states saying, we don't even know where to begin. So I'm currently serving in the 4A through 6A classification coordinator role. And so I work with 3 other individuals that are assigned to, each classification, the 4A, the 5A, and the 6A. And what the board is trying to do is to help all athletic administrators, but specifically the new ones, to, again, have that support, knowing where to go to get answers, and having those touch points on a regular basis. So I know our coordinators reach out at least monthly to these new athletic administrators to ask them if they're, have any questions, but also to hit the highlights. So just some things we've hit over the course of less than a year, like you mentioned, since the program started, is Trevor Wilson, again, who serves on the board right now as the mentor, as part of his assistant LTI coordinator duties, is to be over the mentor coordinator. He had a little seminar that he did on Register My Athlete. So we all jumped on there with those new ADs, and we kind of just showed them how individuals are ready for tryouts, how to put them on a roster, how to assign a coach to a sport, these type of things. But it was a hands-on experience and allowed everyone to ask questions. But then it was great because we also said, have you found any ways of doing something better, or just some little things that, that we do that fits our personality. So I thought that was great. But then we did reminders about academic all-state. So just all these little things that, if you don't have something in front of you, even after doing it for 11 years, even though it cycles through and you feel like you're doing the same thing over and over, to do it every season or from year to year, you need to be reminded and done. So anyways, I think that we learned from, there's certain ways that we've been doing things for years, and to have, hear from the new athletic administrators, some of the new ways they're doing it, I think it benefits everyone, but I hope it will create an effort for more individuals who want to become athletic administrators and not feel overwhelmed or not feel that the job is that there is no support, maybe from administration, or they're always dealing with coaches or their parents, kind of those things that maybe get more of the publicity, and say, I don't want to have to deal with that. I'll just stay in the classroom, or I'll stay coaching, or, that's not for me. I hope this program, it gets people to get past that year 3, 4, 5, that maybe we see. That's kind of the, the timeline of individuals finding out if they're in it for the long haul or not. So I'm hopeful that this program will just continue to grow.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. Let's go to your time as the UIAAA president and maybe share one or two stories with our listeners of the satisfaction and maybe the stress that came along with that, your year as being a president.
So I guess maybe a funny story of the years being a president. In the UIAAA conference, there at the end of the banquet, they usually announce the board announces the results of who is the president. And either in my excitement or just the anxiety of becoming the president and not wanting it to be an awkward moment, I jump up in front of everybody, and I guess I'm giving some type of acceptance speech or a thank you, and must have been rambling on for a few minutes or so, because then Jamie Sheets, I don't remember what I said, but I remember him coming up basically and saying, hey, Mike, you're already the president. They don't need to hear from you, or they already know what you're about. They're really here for the door prizes. So if you'll just kind of move along, we'll get to that part of it. Maybe the stress of being the president too. There's definitely board members that have been on longer. So really the kind of the day-to-day operations are set in place. So I didn't really feel too stressful about that. But obviously you're carrying the weight of the association with you, and you want to do what's right. And you want to do the members right. So that's, some of the things that I took with me. But also I really appreciated kind of the behind the scenes. I think that's what an athletic administrator is all about anyways. You're serving your student athletes and the coaches and everything really behind the scenes. Even though you are at the game, a lot of what you do kind of goes unnoticed. And I enjoyed being in the presidency and learning how the association really works, and having a much better, appreciation for our association, but also then how it works. Because I feel like even though I have not been on the board for a few years, I can still be involved, and I can still help out and support, whether it's the association or just get involved, and not feel that it was something in the past, but it continues moving forward. So as you guys have asked me to do workshops at the conference or teach classes, I enjoy doing that and look forward to in the future as well.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. And let's make sure that people, as I mentioned earlier, we're not related, but so there's no nepotism here. But my latest contract as the executive director, I believe, was signed when you were the president. And so did you catch grief from being President Hunter, hiring another Hunter to be the executive director?
I didn't. I think only the board's seen that, but you're correct. I was the one that signed that. And when you were going to ask me about if there was any type of relationship, I mean, I don't think I have found anything in there or in the past that in our genealogy that showed anything. But hey, if I had a dime for every time someone has said, are you related to Mark Hutch Hunter, I would be set. Hopefully I just, the name continues on well, and I do my part to live up.
Well, there you go. What's the one common myth about being an athletic administrator that you want to debunk for those new ones out there, or for those that may be listening that aren't quite invested yet?
Yeah, so I think one big myth is that, we are paid to watch sports. I used to always give my wife a hard time that when she says I'm in front of the TV watching a game, well, I'm an athletic administrator. It's part of my job. I'm doing it. I'm watching sports. We as athletic administrators, I think we're always evaluating the programs. And I think that's one thing. And when I go to a game, whether it's our own here at Provo High or anywhere else, my eye is catching something about the game in general, right? Whether it's leading up to the game, what's going on during the game, because that's what we're dealing with all the time. We're trying to make sure that everyone involved or the things, let's take for example, a football game, if you've got a pregame show, you got your halftime, and take care of the officials, the visiting team, so on and so forth. There's all these things. So we're really not paid to just watch sports. We don't just show up and let things take care of itself, but we're always evaluating, we're doing it, but it's very worthwhile. So I think, again, going back, there's some individuals say I wouldn't get involved because of maybe the helicopter parent, or because of the different coach personality, or because of all the paperwork involved, all that. But it's really rewarding when student athletes have an experience that they enjoy. I've had several, just comment to me that, whether they win or lose, they enjoy the experience, the opportunity to participate. And that's what it comes down to. If they have the opportunity to, and that's why I hope I am continuing to fight to back sports that are coming on, like taking on lacrosse at a school that hasn't really had a foundation for that in the past. Not just them, supporting the major sports as well, but all of them, so that those individuals feel like if that's what they choose to participate in, they're going to get an experience that they enjoy and can look back upon, and know that they had success there and build on for the future. So hopefully that's what those individuals will think of maybe when they get into athletic administration, the impact that they can have on young people's lives.
Well said. Share with our listeners what is the favorite part of your job?
So I think the first, I'll go back to those student athletes. I love interacting with them. So I'm not in the classroom like I was before. I'm one of those fortunate athletic administrators to be a full-time. So my interaction with the students is when I see them at practice or see them, at events. And that's the favorite part of my job is seeing them. I enjoy competing too. I don't feel like I'm that far removed from being an athlete myself or a coach. And so in the different venues, and since I did multiple sports growing up, I enjoy seeing individuals in different environments and how they react. If they feel good in that environment, I think that's wonderful. When they decide then to do another sport, let's say they're out now in track and field, and they're not as uncomfortable, they're not, as comfortable in that environment. It is great to see them progress, develop, put themselves out there, like I said, in a position maybe to fail, but maybe hopefully obviously to learn more about themselves as well.
Thank you for sharing that. Mike, let's have you share. I know you probably have more than two, but let's narrow it down to two suggestions that you could give a new athletic administrator. When I say new, I don't mean 1 or 2 years. I say somewhere between the 1 and the 4 year mark, someone who's still getting used to it. What are the two definite things that they need to have that you can share with them?
I think that one of the most important things a new athletic administrator should do is to ask questions. Again, I alluded that we don't have the answers to everything. And if they are willing to ask other individuals, whether they're there right there at the school, the region level, the district level, and the state level, then they will save themselves a lot of stress, a lot of frustration. It's okay to say, you know what, I'll find out and I'll get back to you. I think the other thing is to, build relationships with your your principal, your administration, and even at the district level. Again, I feel like I've been fortunate in the situations I've been in to really be supported by the school's administration and at the district level. Kind of be myself in the role, that my suggestions are listened to, that my voice is heard. And I think that takes some time in building those relationships of trust. So that means spending some time with those individuals, sharing your vision, your goals, and keeping those administrators at whatever level involved and informed of what's going on, even if it seems very little. Just kind of giving a little recap and update on where every program's at. I feel like that goes a long way, and I think that the administrators are grateful for that. But then they can also kind of spend their time doing some of the other things that they need to be doing at the building level. Not that they can't be involved in athletics, but they've got so many other things coming at them that that relationship an athletic administrator has with their principal and administrators is very key.
Two great suggestions. Thanks for sharing those. Let's end with this last question. What question should I have asked you that I have failed to ask you?
So one off the bat was whether or not we were really related.
Okay.
But I guess where do you see the job? We probably talked about the last 11 years or so. Where do you see the job going in the next 10 years?
So where do you see the job going in the next 10 years?
Well, it's ever evolving. So I guess you will never say I will never be asked to do that or never have to do that as an athletic administrator. So again, going back to my future years, I didn't think that I would be doing online ticketing, right? I know some of this has come on because of COVID, but I don't think we're going to now go back to, you'll still be able to buy a ticket at the gate, but why would we not be allowing our community buy these tickets up front ahead of time, bring their phone, scan in, just walk right into the gate.
That is a great comment. Who was I speaking to yesterday? And of course, yesterday is probably 7 weeks, because this will air about 7 or 8 weeks after we record it. But somebody was talking to me about it down at the Activity Association. I said, well, I've been out of athletics for a few years now. I said, but one thing's for certain. I'm never going to have a ticket taker at an athletic event again. I said, we're just going to go with whichever company you use and go with the online ticketing. So that's a great point. So continue on. What else do you see?
Well, our ticket takers love it. And if they're the ones working the games and they love it, why are you going to mess with something like that? So I see that. I obviously, with everything that's going on in our country regarding, social injustice and things like that, obviously I see our student athletes having a much, profound and impact in terms of their voices and what's going on. And I just think that draws our coaches and from our athletic department leadership, the way in which we give that voice to the student athletes. It's something we're dealing with right now, but who knows 5 to 10 years from now what that will look like. But I see the role of an athletic administrator really taking more off the plate of the administration, right? So again, as I first kind of started in the first 3 years, really my role was over eligibility and scheduling events and things like that. And then that grew into more of helping hiring and train, the coaches. And now this latest stop, like we were just talking about, is from a technology standpoint, or where this pandemic has brought us, what have we learned from this that we could move forward with? So I'm really, obviously, anything in terms of athletics, and I should say activities as well. At my school, I'm over the performing arts groups as well, because they perform it right, and they are tied to the athletic association activities and athletic association at the state level. So I see myself now really in this role that anything within those programs, I need to know about, I need to be moving forward with. And again, like I mentioned before, helping the administration to know where those programs are at and what they need in the future. But I hope there'll be more people involved to share those that would like to get involved and to do that. But I still see it being a very rewarding job, one I'm still looking forward in doing. I look at those individuals that have done it for years, and I hope that I'm not only attending those conferences to renew and build on those relationships that I have, but also that shows I've been doing it for a number of years and still enjoying it.
Well, thank you. That's some great insight, and thank you for the last half hour or so. Some great ideas to share to our listeners. We hope to see you. We hope to have you tune in again next Friday for our next broadcast. And once again, our guest today, Mike Hunter, CMAA Athletic Administrator at Provo High School. Thanks, Mike.